Let me ask you something that might sting a little. Have you ever looked someone in the eyes and said, "I trust you," while deep down a quiet voice whispered, "But I don't fully believe myself"? Trust isn't just about the person across from you. It's about the one staring back at you in the mirror. We love to talk about trust like it's a gift we give someone else. But here's the truth no one tells you. Trust is not a gift, it's a mirror. It reflects not just who they are, but who you are, what you've lived through, what you're afraid of, and what you believe you deserve. Trust begins with you, not them. That's something we don't hear enough, and yet it's the cornerstone of every healthy relationship. Most people are looking for someone to make them feel secure, loved, and valued. But the truth is, until you develop that sense of safety within yourself, no one else can give it to you. And if you do find someone who temporarily makes you feel that way, you'll still live in fear, because your sense of trust is borrowed, not built. You're depending on someone else to feel stable, and the moment they act outside your expectations, your inner world starts to shake. That's not love. That's emotional dependency disguised as connection. You have to ask yourself, do I trust myself to handle whatever happens in this relationship? Do I believe in my own strength enough to walk away from what doesn't serve me? Can I stay rooted even when someone else is uncertain? If your answer is no, then you're putting someone else in charge of your emotional safety, and that is a dangerous position to be in, because then you're not trusting them, you're needing them. And neediness isn't love, it's fear. It's the fear of abandonment, the fear of rejection, the fear that without this person, you won't be okay. When you build trust in yourself, you create a kind of quiet confidence. It's not loud, and it doesn't need to prove anything. You don't cling to people or force them to stay. You don't panic when someone pulls back. You don't spiral into anxiety when they need space, because deep down you know, if this relationship is right, it will thrive in truth, not in pressure. And if it's wrong, you'll survive without it. You'll mourn it, yes. But you won't break. This kind of self-trust changes everything. It affects how you communicate, how you set boundaries, how you handle conflict. You're not trying to control the other person to feel safe. You're anchored in your own inner compass. You speak your truth because you value clarity more than comfort. You listen without defensiveness because you're not afraid of being wrong. You give love freely but not blindly, and if that love is returned with respect, you allow it to grow. But if it's met with inconsistency or dishonesty, you don't rationalize it. You recognize it. So, before you ask, "Can I trust them?" ask this first, "Do I trust me?" Because when you do, the answer to every other question becomes a whole lot clearer. Trust is built, not assumed. This is one of the most misunderstood truths in relationships. Many people walk into a new connection, swept up in chemistry and attraction, and they assume that trust should be part of the package deal. They say, "I just have a good feeling about this person," or "We have such an amazing connection." And based on that alone, they grant someone access to the most delicate parts of their heart. But connection isn't trust. Chemistry isn't consistency, and feelings, no matter how intense, are not facts. Real trust is built over time, not during one amazing night or from one deep conversation. It's forged in the day-to-day moments, when someone follows through on their word, when they respond with kindness under pressure, when they show up even when it's inconvenient. These small acts may not seem dramatic, but they form the foundation of a trustworthy relationship. You learn more about someone's reliability, not in how they treat you when everything is easy, but in how they behave when things are hard, when they're tired, when they're stressed, when you disagree. The truth is, most people don't have a trust issue. They have a pattern recognition issue. They fall for potential and ignore the patterns. They hear the right words and overlook the repeated actions that don't match. Trust isn't about believing someone's story. It's about watching their behavior. Does their energy match their language? Do they remember the things that matter to you? Do they apologize and then adjust? Or do they apologize and repeat? You have to look beyond the butterflies. You have to see the person, not just the role they're playing in your romantic fantasy. Anyone can put on a good face for a few weeks. Anyone can say the right things when they want something. But who are they when there's nothing to gain? Who are they when you set a boundary? When you say no? That's when you really start to see the blueprint of someone's integrity. You don't build trust by hoping someone will be who you want them to be. You build trust by observing who they consistently are, and when you learn to be more loyal to patterns than to promises, you stop falling for potential. You start choosing partners based on reality, not fantasy. That's how real trust begins to grow through repeated, consistent actions, not instant emotional intensity. Trust requires vulnerability, but not recklessness. This is a crucial distinction, and one that many people overlook in the early stages of love. We've been taught that vulnerability is the key to intimacy, and that's true. But when vulnerability is offered too soon, too freely, or to the wrong person, it stops being a bridge to connection and starts becoming a doorway to heartbreak. Vulnerability, at its core, is about sharing your truth with someone who has proven they can hold it with care. It's not about oversharing. It's not about telling someone your life story on the first date or pouring your heart out to someone who hasn't earned your trust. A lot of people confuse being open with being unguarded, but the truth is, you can be emotionally available and still have boundaries. In fact, real vulnerability includes boundaries. It's not about showing your deepest wounds to anyone who will look. It's about sharing in stages, based on how someone responds to each level of emotional access. If someone proves they can hold your truth with empathy, with respect, with discretion, then you go deeper. But if they judge you, dismiss you, or use your honesty against you, that's not a safe place for your heart, no matter how charming or attentive they may seem. It's also important to realize that trust doesn't grow through grand emotional confessions. It grows through emotional responsiveness. If you say, "That hurt me," does the other person get defensive, or do they lean in with compassion? If you share something difficult, do they minimize it, or do they try to understand you better? Vulnerability means you allow someone to see you, but trust means you watch what they do once they've seen you. Do they handle your emotions with care? Do they create a space where you feel safe to be more of yourself, not less? When you share your inner world too quickly, you're hoping someone will earn your trust after you've given it. But when you're intentional, you let people earn it first, and then meet them with deeper honesty as they prove their reliability. That's not being guarded, that's being wise. Vulnerability isn't about being unfiltered with everyone. It's about choosing the right people to open up to and doing it in a way that honors both your courage and your emotional safety. Broken trust can heal, but it needs far more than an apology. Too often, we confuse the words "I'm sorry" with the act of repair. We think that because someone expresses regret or sheds a few tears, everything should be okay again. But trust doesn't function that way. It's not a switch you flip back on. It's a fragile structure, one that cracks when broken, and even if it can be rebuilt, the process requires care, consistency, and most importantly, action. When someone breaks your trust, the first thing you need to see is genuine accountability, not defensiveness, not excuses, not "I only did that because you did this." What begins to rebuild trust is when the other person owns what they did, fully. They understand the gravity of their actions, they feel the impact they caused, and they don't rush you to get over it. They listen, they ask how they can show up differently, they prioritize your healing over their own comfort. That is the starting point, not the finish line. But even accountability isn't enough if it's not paired with visible, sustained change. Someone saying "I'll do better" means nothing if they keep falling into the same patterns. Change is not about intensity, it's about consistency. Are they transparent where they used to be secretive? Are they proactive in addressing the insecurity they caused? Do they go out of their way to rebuild the safety that they shattered? And most importantly, are they doing these things even when you're not watching? Because real growth shows up when there's no audience, only integrity. On the flip side, if you're the one trying to heal from broken trust, you need to understand something crucial. You get to decide what your boundaries look like now. Forgiveness is yours to give, but trust must be earned again. You are not cold or bitter for needing time, space, or reassurance. Healing doesn't happen on someone else's timeline. If they truly value the relationship, they'll be patient, they'll stay consistent. They won't weaponize your pain to make themselves feel better. Rebuilding trust is a journey, not a demand. It's not a promise to return to the way things were, but a chance to create something stronger, clearer, and more honest than before. That only happens when both people are committed to the process, not just the outcome. Trust is the foundation on which every meaningful relationship is built, but it's not a simple, automatic process. It doesn't appear the moment two people feel chemistry or exchange affectionate words. It's a layered experience, one that starts within and then gradually extends to others based on observation, behavior, and consistent emotional alignment. When we don't take the time to understand that trust is deeply personal, we end up projecting our fears, our past, and our unhealed wounds onto someone else, expecting them to fix something they never broke. The truth about trust is that it requires as much self-awareness as it does awareness of our partner. Too many relationships fall apart not because of betrayal, but because of unearned assumptions. People give their trust away without requiring consistency. They open their hearts before understanding the other person's intentions, and they overlook the lack of follow-through because the words sounded good. But real trust is not about hoping someone is good for you. It's about witnessing that they are. It's about tracking patterns, seeing how they respond to pressure, conflict, and your truth. It's about being brave enough to slow down and let trust reveal itself rather than trying to force it before it's ready. And when trust is broken, as it sometimes is, it's easy to believe that love alone should be enough to heal it. But love without accountability is manipulation. Love without change is empty, and love without safety can never truly feel like love at all. Healing broken trust demands more than pretty words or emotional outbursts. It requires humility, transparency, and a sustained willingness to show up differently over and over again. It's not about recreating the past, but about building a new, stronger structure on top of old lessons. And both people have to be part of that effort, one to earn it back and the other to decide whether it's worth the rebuild. So if you're searching for truth in your relationship, let that truth begin with you. Trust your instincts, trust your ability to walk away if it's not right, trust your value enough to hold out for someone who respects it. Don't fall for charm, wait for character, don't confuse intensity with intimacy. And never let the fear of being alone push you into trusting someone who hasn't shown up for you, because the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself, and that's where trust begins and ends. Thank you so much for watching this video and spending your valuable time with me. If this message resonated with you, I truly appreciate your presence and your heart. Trust is not just a relationship topic. It's a life lesson we all grow through, and I'm honored to be a part of your journey. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content just like this. Your support helps this community grow, and together we can build stronger, healthier, and more conscious connections. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. I love hearing from you. Until next time, take care of your heart, trust your intuition, and remember, you deserve a love built on truth. Much love, and goodbye for now.